Hello there, I'm Guildmaster Dan, and welcome to the Fourth Wall. I was just wondering, what if you took the Fellowship of the Ring, the most iconic fantasy party of all time, and gave them character classes from Dungeons and Dragons? What would they be? Well, I mean, Gandalf naturally would be a wizard, even though that doesn't translate 100%. Aragorn and Legolas, pretty clearly Rangers. Boromir and Gimli, still pretty clearly fighters. And then we get our four hobbits. Thieves? Commoners, maybe? Eh. But, it's kind of weird. They're missing a healer. Guess it's a good thing we're talking about party balance today. Now that I think about it, that whole adventure was doomed from the start. I mean, come on. What the hell were they thinking? A wizard, two rangers, two fighters, and four commoners. Where's the healer? It's a freaking dangerous world out there in Middle Earth. There's freaking orcs, there's undead, there's giant spiders, there's little mutated hobbity things, and they go out without a healer? They go down into the mines of Moria without a healer? Come on, talk about the worst freaking dungeon in the world. It's got the freaking Balrog down at the bottom. The one that freaking killed all the dwarves or whatever he did. I mean, why would you do that? They must have known walking into that they were going to be slaughtered, without somebody to heal them after every 20 steps through the dungeon. I mean, come on. And where do they get off having four people in the party with the exact same skills, four commoners or thieves, whatever you want to call it, four of them with the exact same skill set. Two rangers, two fighters? Come on, guys. Let's diversify this a little, Let's try and get some different skill sets in there so we can cover all the bases. This is just freaking stupid. It's no wonder they didn't just get slaughtered in Moria and then the story was over. Did that sound silly to you too? Yeah. Well, that's just kind of generally the impression that I got from a conversation I came across in a gaming group that I was in, where they were talking about whether or not you should enforce party balance amongst your players. Now, to me, that sounded like a very silly conversation because for me, the answer is obvious. But, it didn't seem so clear for everybody else. So it occurred to me that, that might be a good thing to talk about this week. So, in order to better elaborate how I feel about the idea of party balance and what I would recommend you do in your game, let's go ahead and let's objectively look at this concept. The idea of party balance is that the game that you're running in is dangerous. That there's, it's a dangerous world out there. There's lots of monsters and bad guys that are out to get you. And unless you have, and on top of that, the places that you go, such as dungeons and more dungeons, they have lots of traps and they have lots of dangerous terrain and there's lots of locked doors. And generally, in order to get through all those baddies and those traps and those locked doors and that dangerous terrain, you have to have certain skill sets. And, in order to ideally get through, the dungeon and the baddie and the next dungeon and the next baddie and the next dungeon and the next baddie, in order to get that nice magic ring and the magic sword and the princess, you have to have certain skill sets to get through all of that. And what are those skill sets? Well, you have your beat stick. You have your guy who's able to deal lots of damage and can take lots of hits. Let me see here. You're gonna need him for all those monsters. You're gonna need a healer to patch him up. Whenever he gets injured from fighting all those monsters. You're gonna need, there's locked doors, so you're gonna need a thieving type, someone who can pick locks, right? And you're gonna have to pass through some bad terrain. That means you're gonna need yourself. You're gonna need yourself a nice ranger who can navigate and survive in the wilderness, just in case you guys get stuck out there. And can generally be nice, light, and agile on his feet, and climb sheer walls and whatnot like that. And maybe there's room for a nice bard to come along so that he can make everybody else better at the things that they do. And for good measure, we'll have a second beat stick in there that can do lots of damage. So okay, let's review. So we got at least one, maybe two beat sticks that deal lots of damage. We have a nice a ranger who can like navigate terrain and climb walls and stuff, and we have a thieving type who can pick locks and disarm traps. And a wizard is typically good, so you can always throw in that element of randomness in there, and you have your healer to patch them all up as they get injured along the way. Okay, so say that's probably a balanced party right there. Now, you know what I didn't notice in that description there as I'm describing the ideal sort of setup of a party? I didn't notice any character in that description. I noticed skill sets. It's kind of, I don't know. That doesn't really sound right to me. I mean, yeah, that doesn't really sound like an adventuring group to me. What does that sound like to me? That sounds like a tool bag. That sounds like, you know, not so much we're taking people on this quest as we're taking tools. Just we're giving one tool to each person so that they're in charge of that. So we can operate as a team and we can use each of our assets. That's not so much role playing. There's no character there. That's only mechanics. That's much less exciting than it is hearing about, oh, let's see. Well, we have this dangerous ring that can end the world, and the only way to save the world is by destroying it off on the other side of the Darklands and in the fires of Mount Doom. Um, and we need to toss it in there. Okay, well, who can do this? Well, we have Boromir, the son of the regent of Gondor, who wants to ensure that this quest is achieved, and we have Legolas, the elven bowcaster, who is very skilled and wants to see some adventure and also ensure that this gets done. And we have Gimli, proud dwarf, who wishes to make sure that the dwarves aren't left out of this grand quest, that this gets done right, not by any elf or a human. You have Gandalf, who certainly knows the needs of getting this done, but really, even he probably was reluctant to do this himself, given the temptation of this ring of power. But what really gets him to go is, that his young companion Frodo, a hobbit, doesn't feel the temptation as strongly as the others, and is most naturally able to carry the ring, and maybe feels a bit of responsibility to carry that ring because it belonged to his uncle, and he saw what it did to his uncle, so he recognizes it. And then of course Frodo can't go alone because Sam's his best friend, and Sam wants to look after Frodo because they've known each other for a long time, and he can't let Frodo go on this dangerous quest with these strange people to this essentially to the end of the world. And then of course, adventurous and impulsive, the brothers Merry and Pippin, they hop on and they want to essentially, they want to be a part of the quest too. They want to help. Now you see that description there. That was a skill set. I did mention a skill set or two, but that was much more character. There were people going on this quest. These people understand the danger, and they have motivations that lead them to go on this journey. They didn't sit down and be like, well, let's see. We have to pass through the mines of Moria. we have to go through the Swamp of Sorrows. And I understand that I'm misquoting certain things here. Just roll with me on this. We have to go through the Swamp of Sorrows. You know, uh, we have to fight off the orcish armies, and then we have to climb you know, Mount Doom or whatever, and throw the ring in. So okay, so let's see. Boromir, Gimli, you're good at bashing things in, so we'll take you two along so that you can fight off the Orkies. And then let's see. No one's been in Mines of Moria for years. Even though Gimli will help with that because he's dwarven, you know. Gandalf will really need to take you because you can read lots of stuff, and you know you can read Old Elvish. In Elvish, you know what? Legolas, you're probably good at that. You can help us with that. We're gonna be crossing some rough terrain too, and Aragorn. Oh yes, I forgot to mention Aragorn before, but Aragorn, absolutely, you're great at you're an actual ranger. You're great at traversing, you know, dangerous territory. And let's see, and the hobbits. Um, why are we taking them again? You see how that falls apart? If you're These are role playing games. And in role playing games, you're playing characters because you're trying to role play a person. And people in fantasy settings and in sci-fi settings and in horror settings go on dangerous missions and dangerous quests, not because you know it's what you do and because you feel safe because you have the right combination of skill sets in your group. No, it's because you have motivations to do it. And you play off those motivations and off of the personalities, off of the character to interact with people. That's the core experience of a role playing game. If you only focus on those skill sets and those rules to get past those obstacles, you don't have a role playing game anymore. You have a board game. And, you know, that's fine. You can go and play a board game. Go get Descent. You can go through all the motions of going on that grand fantasy adventure. And, you know, you could be your archetypes and you'll have your special abilities. And you can make sure you have the right special abilities to get past each room of monsters. It's a great game. I highly recommend it. But we're playing a role playing game here, guys. You know, let's sit down, let's come up with characters, and let's role play those characters through the obstacles that they go through. You know, this is a no-brainer for me. In role-playing games, you play characters. You don't play skills. Those skills are there to essentially describe, you know, things that those characters learn throughout their life. And the concept that you're going to base your character on their skills is ludicrous. Come up with a person. Don't come up with a set of skills. Come up with a person and give them the set of skills that they would have got. It's a no-brainer, guys. So I realize that a lot of you out there who are real Lord of the Rings fans are probably pissed at me because I've butchered up your lore. I certainly apologize. You know, I was never really big into the Lord of the Rings. I saw the movies because you know they were really entertaining. But you know, as far as epic literature goes, I was much more into Dune and sci-fi stuff. But it's mainly the concept that I wanted to show to you guys there because for me, the answer is obvious. This whole conversation is silly. Role playing games is about role playing. So you play characters, you don't play skill sets. So when it comes to your game and whether or not you should enforce party balance amongst your players, don't. If they want to play all fighters, if they want to play all spellcasters, if you know, if they want to be two fighters, a thief, and a bard, let them do it, you know, because they're making up characters and it's your job as the game master to make a compelling adventure for them anyway, or at least to run your world realistically. Yeah, characters might die and they might get injured along the way, but if they really need, if they really need healing, then, you know, they should stop and go back to town and get some reinforcements. Obviously, if something's too tough for them, it's ludicrous to think that they have to prepare everything beforehand and take it with them. You know, sometimes you have to go and you have to seek help, and that's a lesson that we have to learn in real life as well as in a game, or in role playing games. That is. So you know, you can always make up NPCs of like healers if they have to have a healer in their party, or you know, guides through the wilderness, things like that. If there are skill sets missing, you can come up with NPCs to fill those roles temporarily or permanently. But the point is, there's no reason to limit your players when it's their job to make characters, not to plan out skill sets. Um, so in your game, don't force your players to like one player per class because it's just silly. They're playing people. They're not playing skill sets. The skill sets are just there to describe how what those people know and what they're good at. And of course, there's a lot of people out there who disagree with me, which you're welcome to. Please, if you disagreed with me, or if there's something else in this conversation that I overlooked or you'd like to add, please leave a comment below. And please like, share, and subscribe so that we can keep the conversation going. And as always, thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time. Which, by the way, this is my cat, Dippy. Say hello. Hi. Dippy doesn't want to be on camera.